Good morning.
It's great to have you. 22 plus years you've reported on school here in the Bay Area through strikes, budget cutbacks, state takeovers, but this pandemic, of course, is something new. Let's start in San Francisco, where many parents are still not hopeful that children will return to the classroom before the end of the academic year. This has to do with the COVID vaccine, with the state's reopening tiers. Where do things start in San Francisco?
Right. Well, they took a major step in coming to an agreement with the unions on the safety and health protocols, but there's still a long way to go. They still have to negotiate with the teachers union on the educational aspects, what type of hybrid
Looks
program
like
or
we
what they'll, how they'll be coming back. So there's still a long way to go.
In San Francisco, there are some 15,000 students in private schools who've been going to in person education classes. Meanwhile, some 52,000 in San Francisco Unified have been home for almost a year. Many people look at the situation in San Francisco and other large urban cities and say some sort of financial divide, racial inequity must be playing into who goes back to school and who doesn't.
Yeah, so there are a lot of private schools that are open, as well as public schools across the region. But the reality is the safety protocols in place are generally available for all the school districts. They are masks, social distancing, cohorts. So the public health officials are saying kids can go back to school safely, and teachers do not need to be vaccinated in order for that to happen.
Let's talk about the role teachers' unions are playing. We know that the city of San Francisco schooled the San Francisco Unified School District and the school board. Many unions, including teachers in Chicago, have pushed back against city officials saying you need to come back to class. What role do teachers' unions play in all this?
Yeah, they're playing a very strong role actually across the country. In some places, the teachers' unions have sued in order to not go back. They've threatened strikes. In San Francisco, it will require an MOU or a memorandum of understanding in order for the teachers to go back. And so, they do have to agree. And there's a lot of fear out there, honestly. I get emails every day from teachers concerned about their safety, concerned about going back. I get emails every day from parents begging the schools to reopen because their kids are just floundering in the distance learning environment. But until all the sides sit down, especially in California and the Bay Area, the unions have a very strong say in how and when schools open.
Right, right. And certainly you can't force teachers to go back to work. On the other side of things, we are hearing from some teachers who say they want to go back to the classroom with their children. And we're also hearing from some parents who say, distance learning is working out okay with me. This has turned into a very divisive topic, even in people's personal lives. I'm getting the sense that many people kind of don't want to talk about it if they're not in that majority, let's get kids back in school group.
Yeah, this is one of the most divisive issues that I've covered in education in all these years. Because it's not about politics per se. It's about personal situation, whether there are health issues, fear, other things like that, and so you really have a lot of folks who want to send their kids back. The majority of families in San Francisco would send their kids back as soon as they open, and that's across all ethnic groups for the most part. And yet at the same time, there are a lot of families who wouldn't be able to do it. The reality is in most districts, the families will have a choice in sending their students back or not. In many cases, they'll be able to continue distance learning whether or not they go back. And so, for those families out there that have certain circumstances or health issues at home, they'll still have the choice of having that distance learning if they feel that's necessary for their family. But there is a lot of fear. There is a lot of division. It's difficult. I just got an email this morning about a family where their child was one of the most gregarious kids at school and now can barely get out of bed because of what the toll the pandemic is taking. So it's personal, it's scary, it's difficult, it's emotional, and all of this is wrapped into the politics of the union and the politics of the school boards. and all the health questions that we have surrounding the pandemic.
Yeah, it's a difficult situation to say the absolute least. Jill Tucker, I'm so thankful for your reporting in the San Francisco Chronicle and the fact that you've joined us here this morning on the 9.
Thank you so much.